if you want to become a pseudo operator, to operate pseudo, you had to have passed the dark phase. Unfortunately, a lot of people slip through, but it's who you know and what you know.
Yeah.
That's the way it is in most units in the army, in most armies. But the dark phase was now where you learn how to operate, how to dress, how to talk, what to eat, what not to eat, what to dress, what you could wear, what you couldn't wear. It was all done on the dark phase. That is where you learned to become a terrorist.
This might seem a bit of an odd question, but we were discussing it before we came online. I've always got the impression that the guys that really succeeded in Selous Scouts were they grew up on farms, they grew up in the bush, they knew the bush. City boys took a long time to learn the bush. I mean, there were the Rosenfelds and all these people that lived in the bush, shot in the bush. They were bush. And is that a fair comment to make, or did city-dwelling guys do equally as well?
I spent my childhood, most of it, apart from the farm, was on the banks of the Zambezi River at Livingston. I had a guy, a friend of mine, black guy, Robert. He was our houseboy's son. That became like my best friend, my brother. We went everywhere. We went fishing together. He taught me a lot about the bush, about the belief of the African people, their traditions, and that sort of thing, which stood me in good stead when I got to Selous Scouts. But at the same time, the guys in Scouts, the actual AS soldiers, if you had a question to ask them, they will tell you. Like I asked a question once of Killer. I said to him, Killer, all the spirit mediums in Zimbabwe, then Rhodesia, backed the terrorists. They did. They backed the terrorism. They didn't back the Rhodesian government. They backed the terrorists. That was it. And now he, being an African and an African Rhodesian soldier, I would have thought that would have influenced him, to leave the army. He said no. When he passed his selection course, it was the proudest day he has ever had in his life. And when he became a Selous Scout, he vowed he would stay with that unit until the end, and he would die there. But he would never, ever turn his back on it or leave it. So how much power did these spirit mediums have?
Tremendous power. I've interviewed guys on the internal affairs guys.
To some people, yes. But if you look at RAR, all those stayed there till the end. None of them gapped it. I mean, all the Scouts guys at the end, they all stayed there. They joined the new Zimbabwe army. So there's some things that you read about and you hear about that you got to question. Spirit mediums, when they talk, everybody falls over. But to what extent was their power?
Tremendous power. And going back to my question, do you think city-dwelling guys did as well in pseudos as all the guys raised on farms? Or was that a hard question to answer?
No, that's difficult because, look, I don't think your upbringing had anything to do with it. Like I said, I spent most of mine in the bush. That's fine as a light. But at the same time, that would help me. That wouldn't help me. No, let me get this straight. If I'm a civilian, I've never been to the bush, and I want to become a tracker, they're going to teach me, isn't it? To become a tracker, this is that, this is this. If I'm a civilian, I want to become a Selous Scout, and I pass the selection, they're going to teach me how, why, and what I must do. So I don't think, I think it's all here in the head. If you wanted to be one enough, you could be one, regardless of your upbringing. I don't think your upbringing had anything to do with it. Personally, maybe if as a tracker and you spend a lot of your time in the bush, you would notice things easier. You pick up things quicker. But that's about it. If you're a civilian and you wanted it and you had a good instructor, you're going to teach you all that. Same here, pseudo, good instructor, good team, they'll teach you all that stuff.
Yeah.
All about the will to live.
Andrew, I think I've reached the point where I'm really excited about this question. You've passed your dark phase, obviously. You're now going on pseudo operations. Can you just talk me through, you've got your team, you're going into the bush with these guys. Can you talk me through the methodology of from the time you deployed until the time you get out of the area? How do you, as a white guy, interact with these men? How do you get them to meet the enemy, and how do you communicate with them? That sort of intimate detail, I'd really like you to enlighten me.
Okay, right. Let's first start off. Let me start. Okay, I passed my selection. I passed the dog phase. Now in camp. First thing I do is I go out with an established team to see how they operate. Okay, the first guy I went out with was Chris Robbins and Chunky Graham. Okay, I went with their team and I learned to see how they operate. They like to operate separate from their team. They're close enough to be there if there's any problems, but at the same time, not too close that they can compromise their team. Okay, because as time got on, the Majibas became more and more prevalent and it became extremely difficult. So I looked and I saw how he operated and I had a look at that. Okay, that's fine. My next trip, I went with a guy called Yanni Nel, which I've mentioned previously. Now, Yanni Nel, he liked to be right up there in their face. I just, in my book, I think you're a bush war operator, I described one of the ones that we did together. He liked to be right up there in their faces, the people walking past you, the school kids for the political meeting, all right there. I don't know, I think I was there for about 4 or 5 days. Same place, same little thick bush by Antioch. I peed there, I slept there, I did everything there. I could not move. I could not afford to draw attention to me. I can blacken myself up as much as you like, but close up, the eyes, the hair, there's no ways that I was going to make it. So for 5 days, I lied there. They fed me there. They brought me food there. If I wanted to go to loo, I rolled over. No, we there. I didn't go anywhere. Once I went with him, we had a meeting at night. We all lined up to meet the chief. The chief came in and said, how's it do, how he loved us and all the rest of it. But once again, we were in the back line, at the back. Nobody was allowed to come too close to us. I felt that we were a liability on the team. I thought we added extra pressure on them because they're so busy watching us that one of the locals with the chief doesn't go across to go and have a chat to us because then, hey, man, that's it. Game over. That they couldn't actually concentrate on their task, which was to gain the information of the terrorists, locate them, and call in fire force. That was their task. But they couldn't do that if they got me hiding under this bushfire Antioch, smelling like a latrine, and you got Yanni Nel hiding under that other bush with a piece of tarp over him. They spend their whole day looking at me and looking at Yanni. The only time they can maybe relax is at night. But during the day, that place is very busy. If you accept it as a terrorist, the flow is continual. Young boys, young girls, there's war stories floating around. It's a place of happiness, of joy. Serious. That's what it was. It was a meeting place. Everybody was happy that the pseudo tours were having an odd beer and everybody was clapping, laughing. It was a place of joy. Now you got these two whites, one dying of thirst under the bush over there. You got the other one sweating to death under a piece of tarp. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. So it's different. A lot of people think they know pseudo. You only know pseudo if you operate it. I can talk, but the only reason I can talk is because I was there. I did it. I know what it's like. So it was up to every team commander to pick, depending on the circumstances, depending on the int you got, how you wanted to do it, how you wanted to operate. I've had occasions where I've been pretty close. Lots of times I used to like to stay close because a lot of times the guys are too close to the tours to actually guide the fire force. You, as the commander, guides the fire force overhead the target. Once the is overhead the target with all the noise, the guys can then talk on the radio and give corrections to the smoke that's been thrown by the fire force commander. So it was one set of skills working with the other set. It was one hand washing the other. The one couldn't survive without the other. The pseudo team could go in and locate 100 turfs. They needed somebody to get that message through to get the fire force. There's no cell phones then. You got the old clumsy A63 radio, and you got your map. There's no GPS, nothing. So you need it, and that's why I like to stay close. Like on occasion when I run out of food, I'd been in the bush for maybe 40 odd days. I don't know. I had no food left, and I got hold of them. They brought me what they call bubble gum. It's a raw chicken. It's a chicken that they gutted, took the feathers off, pour it in a pot of boiling water for a couple of minutes to try and sort of semi-cook it. And it's like partially cooked. And it doesn't go rotten for maybe 4 or 5 days. So you can live off it. The smells of it, but you can live off it. So in cases like that, I needed them to help me, to bring me food. Corporal Thomas, sitting on the tree with the tours, just here, he needed me now to help him get the fire force in. So it was a team effort. And anybody that tries to otherwise, it's not. So here comes deployment time. It's up to you. You decide. You can deploy how you like. It's up to you. No, that's one thing I liked about Scouts. It was up to you. So that's the two scenarios that you can have thrown in your face. So now you've got to.
How did your team actually communicate with you? Did one of them slip off and whisper in your ear, or did he have a radio of any type?
He carried, those teams carried maps with them. Mm-hmm. They had to give you a grid with them.
Yeah.
So your team commander would have a map, and he'd have a radio and spare batteries and a handphone and all the rest of it. So now every time this guy wanted to talk to you, he had to assemble this radio. So he had to get into a place where there was no locals, where he was fairly safe, so he could do that. That was his only way of communication. Imagine if we had cell phones and GPS, how easy would it be? Mm. Now, for me, he would talk to me on that. Now, for me, to get back to my HQ, I would have to use a TR-48 90% of the time. Mm. So there I am. I've got an A63 with all my radio gear, batteries, spare stuff. I've got a TR-48 in my back with 3 or 4 extra batteries, plus all the aerials and all the rest of it. Plus in there, I'm trying to put a bit of food, a bit of sleeping gear, and try and keep it all together. I got like 20, 30 owns down there. They're relying on me. I'm their only connection with the outside world. If they drop in the ship, I'm the dude I'm there to get them out the ship. And excuses are not acceptable. So I've got to go there, prepare to handle whatever comes my way to keep those owns out the ship.
Okay, so there you go. The helicopters are on their way. How does your team disengage from the TERS when the helicopters are on their way? Do they just run away, or how do they disengage from the TERS?
What would happen? You get your team leader with a map and his radio. You get me there to here come the choppers. The choppers would normally say, "I'm 5 minutes out. Can you hear me?" That's the first thing you know. And the team leader would have left his team there with the locals, with the rest of the guys, still carrying on, doing whatever they're doing. You can't now, because the fire was coming, now have a story. They would carry on as per normal. So now, 5 minutes out, they say, "Can you hear?" "Yes, I can hear you." "Right, keep coming, keep coming." Now the team commander is no longer with the group. He's moved away. He's found himself a place where he figures he can talk and not be seen. And normally it's very close to the TERS so that he can see what is going on. With a bit of luck, maybe he's got a bit of a hill or a tree nearby that he can climb up and see the area that he's talking about. Because a lot of times before he actually calls in the fire force, he will go there, do a recce to try and actually pinpoint exactly where they are. Either he does that visually or he can do the letter writing system. You write letters and exchange, and you try and get them to meet you, and you call the fire force on that, which is long, dangerous, and full of traps. So normally what he would do, get away from the rest of the group, call in the fire force on his radio, guide them in overhead the target. He with him would always have his red day glow panel. Okay, once he's called the 5 forces in, he would then move out of the area with his day glow panel. You must not forget the other owns that were in the camp with the locals are now real tourists. This is the real 5 force. So they take off. They got a prearranged RV where they meet at the commander and they hang in there till the 5 force is finished. Normally they'll lay out day glow panels in their area so that there's no confusion with the 5 force. And that's how it normally works, and that's how it should work, and it works very well. But on occasion, if you don't mind, I'll give you an example.
Please do, yes.
That it doesn't work so well. I had a sergeant, I won't mention his name. He was on a little hill with the whole troop, and just below them was the terrorists. Just, a couple hundred meters. They could see them, it's all, everything. Now, this is where the confusion comes in. There's a lot of finger pointing. Comes up, gives me the details, I send them across. Next minute, 5 forces there. But now, somewhere along the line, he got his grid reference mixed up with the terrorist grid reference. So now, in all the melee, the 5 force pitch up by him and not by the terrorists. In the 5 force, you've got this is a fact, that's what I'll tell you now, the truth. In that 5 force, luckily we got a brilliant commander. I'm trying to remember who it was. Was it RAR Major? Or was it the S? I think it was was Armstrong from the SAS, if I remember correctly, with this 5 force. Major Armstrong from the SAS. Now, he was in Scouts, so he knows how this whole scene works. So now here comes the 5 force. They got the sergeant's grid reference as the terrorist grid reference, and they got the terrorist grid reference as the commander's reference. So here they come, and they circle. Now, Goody's Armstrong is a clever man. He was a brilliant officer, and he's skim, man, there's something wrong here. But unfortunately for him, in their gunner in the K car was a new dude. So now Armstrong's thrown the smoke grenade. There it is, smoking. And he's heard on the radio, nothing. So he skims every other time. That's it. So he opens fire on the yellow smoke grenade, which is now in the sergeant's center of the sergeant's team. Chaos is not the word to use, but the sergeant gets wounded, gets shot 3 or 4 times before somebody eventually dawns on them. They see the red day glow panel. The day glow panel I tell you about.
Yeah.
And they start shouting, ceasefire, ceasefire. So the sergeant, let's stop. The sergeant got away with his life. He went to hospital. He was badly shot up, never quite faced it back. And the tourists got away. So now, this happened quite late in the war. So what I'm saying, it was open to mistakes, easy mistakes. That team had been operating non-stop, month in, month out, push in, push out, push in, push out. You go back for 5 to 7 days, you're out again, dash in, push out. Fatigue, it happens. It just messed up.
And so, what does the African team leader have to do or know or carry with him to introduce himself to a real gang? That must be incredibly nerve-wracking and specialized.
Oh, yeah, look, this takes special kind of people. But I have nerves of steel. Right. Now, normally, let me put it this, normally a meeting between the terrorists and the locals. Are we talking about the locals?
Yeah. No, the actual terrorists.
Okay,
how do they introduce themselves to the terrorist gang?
Okay, now, right. First of all, you don't hear nothing about terrorists. Move into your area. You've been deployed by truck or by helicopter, depending on the circumstances and all the rest of it. The size of your group also depends on the size of the terrorist groups operating in the area. If they all 8, you can't go there 5. You must also be 8. If they all carry an AK, you must also carry an AK. If they carry a 60mm mortar, you must also carry. You must try and look the same as they. You must dress as much as possible like they dress.
And who gives you that information, Andrew?
You get that from security branch.
Right.
From SB. And right, so now you've got all the stuff, you're now happy, you set up, you've got your RPG-7 in your group like you're supposed to have, you're all wearing fairlies like you're supposed to, or whatever it is, that's going to make you melt in and merge with the other group. You go there, the guy that does the approach is not the commander. The guy that does the approach is the political commissar. You find in most groups, in Selous Scouts, most groups that had all their political commissars were tame Turks. This is the guy that was trained in Tanzania or wherever. This is the guy with the deep background knowledge. This is the guy that can tell you who was the training officer at the camp in Mozambique by this river, who was the nurse, who was the cook. This is the guy that got that information that is priceless, information that you could never learn. You didn't have enough time. This is the guy that does the approach. He's the guy that handles all the questions. And every village towards the end had a head Majiba. He was the guy that you had to deal with, not the headman, not the chief, the Majiba. The Majiba was like a terror himself, a terrorist, an insurgent. The only difference was he didn't have a gun. That was it. He called the shots. He was the guy that, after talking to you and questioning you and looking at your weapons and asking you this and that, he was the guy that had to decide whether you were accepted or whether you weren't accepted. It was his call. From there, if he wasn't too sure about you, he would still send one of the youngster Majibas that would take you to a camp. Most of the villages had old Turk camps that were used on a regular basis. So he would get one of the young guys that would take you to the camp. And normally now, depending on what time of the day it is, normally they would come and people would come and visit you. They'd bring you water to wash yourself and all this. Now, for example, if you had asked for food, let's just say you had asked for food, and sure enough, 2 hours later, here comes the food party. Now, the food party consists of 2 guys, 2 chicks, and an old guy. Straight away, you must know you haven't been accepted. There's still that element of doubt about who you are and where you come from. If you'd been accepted, all those food carriers would have been chicks, young girls. There wouldn't be anybody else, just young chicks. The next thing is, they put down the food, and in there's milk, there's chicken feet, and all sorts of stuff you're not allowed to eat. This is the next test. So now you are 100% sure that no ways, they haven't accepted you. There's something lacking. So you go call the head Majiba, come in and tell him, hey, look, you're not allowed to eat more chicken feet, this, that. What's the problem? Why are you serving us this? Is there a problem? Tell us. Let's sort it out now. I said, oh, no, he'll tell you the normal service. Oh, no. It was a misunderstanding. We don't know why those people came. Why it wasn't only the young girls, and why they sent you, we don't understand. Then he'll take off. He said, oh, don't worry. The food will be on its way. Hour's time, poof, here they come, all young chicks. They got the food, they got the water. Everything's cool. You check the food, it's fine. They taste the food for you because they're supposed to taste the food. Because one of the things to show that it wasn't poison. They taste your food and everything's kind. It's all young girls. You didn't wait the whole day. You got your food, you got the water, everything's fine. No problem. So now you're accepted. But if 4 to 5 hours pass, you don't get any visitors, you don't get no food, nothing's happening. You're in dead end street. It's time to move on. because you've compromised. It's only going to be now a matter of time before you either get attacked or you die of starvation. But you're not going to get any food. You're not going to get any water. Nobody's going to come near you. You're not going to get any information. You don't know why you got compromised. You're not sure. It can be anything. It can be the wrong clothing. The political commissar answered the wrong question. You got an AKM with a folding butt amongst your guys. You're not supposed to. Everybody's got ordinary wooden butts. It can be anything. Simple, small, little item. But you compromise. So there you go. I don't know where you want to go from there, but that's how it happened. And then from there, from the locals come. And from the locals, you tell war stories. They love war stories. And you talk, you chat, you have a beer or two, you ask about the other comrades in the area, and before you know it, you start getting bits and pieces of information. Okay, once you piece it all together, you get a pretty good idea of what's going on, how strong they are, and maybe with a bit of luck, the odd name of the leaders. Okay, and then you take it from there. Once you got a more or less pinpoint idea, that normally you'll find it will be the team leader that will go and do the recce and get a good reference and all the necessary stuff, while the rest of the guys stay in the camp. And all the questions, everything, I cannot emphasize to you enough how important that tame terrorist political commissar is. He's the one that handles all the questions. Once you've handled the initial head, Majiba, that place is flooded with young guys. And all of them are Majibas. All of them working for the tourists. All of them checking you out. All of them seeing if you're going to make a mistake. All of them asking you amazing questions. And it's all handled by that political commissar. He's the own. Because if you make one mistake, that's it, your history. The next thing you know, you're going to come under fire. Yeah, there's no room for mistakes. There's no room for complacency. You've got to be on top of your game all the time. And when you start getting complacent, then you start making mistakes. When you start making mistakes, you die. That's simple. That sergeant was lucky. He didn't get killed. He was really lucky.
That political commissar, he's obviously your guy. He's obviously somebody senior that you captured, or he's just got all up-to-date information. What is he?
No, they were normally. He's a political commissar because he was a political commissar in a terrorist group. So he's been captured.
Right.
Yeah, he's the guy that motivates. If he was the real tour with the real tour group, he's the one that motivates them. He's the one that sorts them out, keeps them motivated politically and all the rest of it. In a group like that group I've just been talking about, the team leader would become something like the quartermaster.
Yeah.
And when the food would go to him, he's not in charge. The political commissar, that tame terror, he's in charge. He calls the shots. He decides. Not the team leader. The team leader's job is to call in that fire force, guide it in, and get these guys from A to B. But to run that group, the political commissar runs it. I don't know what else you've heard, but that is how it is.
What makes these guys change sides so quickly and remain faithful to you guys? What is it?
A lot of them change sides. You get captured. All right, they get spoken to. When you start saying to them, look, come work with us, we'll pay you, we'll give you a gun, we'll get your family. See, the family. Play on the family. We'll get your mother, your father, your wife, your kids. We'll get them up. We'll give them a place here in our camp at Scouts. Got a job, got clothing, food, safety, everything. Because he knows he's been caught now. And he knows there's going to be repercussions on his family. So they use that card. He tells them where his family is and all that. Once his family's there, and he knows they're safe, he then becomes part of the team. And in a lot of cases, I don't know, I can give you one case where it didn't quite work out, where the guy was captured. But now this is a rush job, you understand? This is a rush job. This is now shortcut special. They take this guy, he's a political commissar, he gets caught in, where I'm trying to think, Mukumbura, the Mukumbura area. That's where he comes from. Mukumbura, the land of red sand, thorn trees, and nothing else. And every square inch has got a hut.
Yeah.
Right. Captured him in Mukumbura. They bring him back to Mount Darwin. Now, Mukumbura is a difficult area because they got contact man. They got that whole place wrapped up. To get information out there is difficult. Now they hit the luck. They get this dude. He was a political commissar. They capture him, take him to the fort. They try and turn him. But the problem is time is of their essence. Now, they don't do the normal root family and all that stuff. Just don't you? Yeah, no problem. You know what I mean? I'm the dude. Trust me, no hassle. Jumps in a truck with a group, and off they go down to Mukumbura. Now that group was made up mainly of policemen. That team. It was him and 5 or 6 policemen in that team. Okay. The guy that was supposed to be the team leader of that guy is Kila. Is the guy that helped me write that book, Skuzapu. Okay. But he ends up on the radio. So these 6 owns get deployed, okay, with this tamed tour, supposedly tamed tour, that they haven't turned, who they think they've turned, but they haven't. They haven't got a family, they haven't got his family, they haven't got nothing on him. All they've got on him is they took the firing pin out of his gun, out of his AK. Gun sounds so amateurish, sorry, out of his AK.
Yeah.
And anyway, they deploy him, and off he goes. There they go, 6 of them, 7 of them, team size, wearing the right gear, everything. The sun's going to get them all the information, get them into the villages and all that stuff. Comes the night time, they stop short of the village. It's easier, in fact, to approach in the morning. To do a night approach, you get your food and water and that a whole lot easier. Late night, you don't get anything. So it's better to approach in the morning. So they go there. So they stop short of this village and go to bed. Yeah, they go to bed. Now, meanwhile, back at the ranch, the HQ at Mukumbura, these zones are supposed to scheme, okay, everything's right. They haven't heard from them on the radio. They got their A63 radio. They should report in saying, okay, this is it. We're boating down for the night and give a good reference. So if anything happens, we know where they are. Nothing happens, they scheme, okay, that's fine. Nobody said anything. So the next morning, still nothing on the radio, nothing on the radio. Now, the guy that was supposed to run this show, I don't want to mention names. In the end, he gets thrown out of Scouts. He was a captain, he gets thrown out. So nothing happened. Nothing happened. So in the end, they decide, no. They got to go out now and look for these dudes. So they go back to the last, they get tracker dogs. They go back to the place they dropped these zones off. The tracker dogs track them down. And this is from what Killer saw, what he told me. There they are, all 6 of them, lying in their beds still, dead, all been shot 2 or 3 times in the face. But they're dead. But the person that's not there is the tamed tour, the so-called converted, changed, tamed tour, political commissar. He's not there. So he killed them. And he went back to Mozambique. Now, rush job, not done properly, but the end result was 6 people dead. Mm-hmm. Their faces were shot up so badly that they recognized them by their fingerprints and their clothing. It was a disaster. And it wasn't the only time. It happened another occasion, which I wasn't involved in, I didn't know about. But when I first started working in Selous Scouts, the pseudo part, I took with me a guy named Peter Chikaponya, who was a tamed tour, because they said to me I would need somebody, to help me get water and that stuff. So I took Peter Chikaponya. Peter Chikaponya had bullet scars. Yeah, he was a tour. He was a survivor of another tamed tour that turned on a group of Selous Scouts and shot them up. He was one of the survivors. So I only know of it happening twice. But what I'm trying to say is, if you've got a good political commissar, he's your ticket. He'll get you through. He'll answer all the questions. If you've got a bummer, you're not going to get very far.
Did you find it easy to rest at night and sleep with a turned terrorist not snoring, but sitting next to you?
I didn't mind it.
put the willies at me.
I took Peter Chicaponia with me twice to the bush, that's all. And I didn't mind with Peter Chicaponia. He was quite an elderly guy. He was guy in the top 30s, 40s. His family was in the camp. You know, his mother, his father, his wife, his kids, they all were in this camp at Selous Scouts. They're getting educated there, they're getting food, getting well looked after, medical, what. So I didn't worry with that. But I just found it, I preferred to operate by myself. So any decision I made concerning me would only reflect on me. I would be the one to suffer, not I got an H2 or 4 irons, I decided to do this fear and get killed. I preferred to work by myself. I felt more confident. I didn't feel I needed anybody else. I could look after whatever I had to look after by myself. I mean, at one stage, I even used to carry a silenced AK. I don't know why it wasn't much good, but anyway, I carried it to handle any of these majivas that if they came looking for me, you know what I mean? Because that was their little thing, to come and do big circles around the camp, looking for spoor or whatever to see. And if they found it, they would follow you. They have attacked several of my corsairs before. They've pointed out the position to the Terrs, and the Terrs have attacked them. So I had the AK.
How did you wake yourself up? I mean, you couldn't set an alarm clock.
Yeah.
How did you do practical things like that?
I just woke up. That's it. I had my watch, but there's no cell phone. There's nothing. I left my radio on, my A63 all night. I left that on because that was the only comms I had with the gang, my Terrs. And because I had to keep it, I used to carry an incredible amount of weight. I wasn't one of those guys that liked the helicopter coming in, dropping off batteries and all that every 5 minutes. It's a compromise. I don't care how you look at it. You can say to me, that hill is always used by army OPs, so they'll think it's an army OP. But I still looked on it as a compromise. If my group was in that area operating, and I've got helicopters on where they think I'm sitting, I don't like it. I think it's a compromise. I prefer to walk in. 99% of the time I walked in. I got to where I wanted to go by my own feet. I stayed clear of big gomos that the OPs were on, because you got to be not worth thinking well to go up there. You know what I mean? I stayed on the low ground, and I stayed as close as possible to my groups, because on several occasions I was the one that guided in the fire force, because they couldn't, because they were too close to the Terrs. So I like to stay close. So if anything happened to me, they could supply me with food. And if I got shot, they could help me. It was a strange mixture. Like we went into one area, we suffered to get in. The Terrs said to them, "Hey, we've seen a white dude on that hill." That was me. Obviously, they tracked me. I didn't do a very good job. So you think you're the real Terrs, you must attack him. So they attacked me. They mortared me. They shot at me, all sorts of things. But by doing that, they got accepted. They got on the radio. They told me they were going to attack me, and all the rest of it. I found myself in a nice place. They hid away. They did their thing.
So, Andy, due to time constraints, what I'd like you to do, if possible, is give me one example of a really successful pseudo operation that resulted in a big or successful kill. Could you quickly walk through that? Maybe.
Yeah, but now what we're talking. You see what a lot of people don't understand? All those pseudo-ops, even the raids in Mozambique, the pseudo-ops, we only got through there because of the pseudo team, the Morris Signal team, Chimfeni. They were the ones doing the talking, handling to get us in. You're talking about an internal one.
Yeah.
You're talking about an internal one.
Yes, one that was very successful from what they did and how you observed it, or the fire force coming in.
That's difficult now, because you mustn't forget, the only one I absorbed is the one I had that I really had a real close-up look with, not from a distance, but close. It's the one with I had with my one team commander, Corporal Thomas. Okay, he's dead now. Okay, he died several years ago. Okay, now this was a case. We moved into the area the previous 3 days ago. Okay, we were just accepted here and there, but we weren't getting any real information. Then one night, while they were sitting around in their camp talk, they heard singing. Tours having a meeting, singing, running down the road. At night, voice carry long way, a couple of k's down the road. Now, obviously, when you hear that and you're a pseudo group and you think, hey, what have these people been telling you? They say there's no tours in the area. I obviously haven't been accepted. You know what I mean? They're telling me rubbish. So what Corporal Thomas did then, he got his group together and they left and they walked towards the sound. By the time they got there, the sound had stopped. So it was dark, so they just picked a place and they based up in at night, around a tree. That was their base. They based up there at night. They gave me the good reference and they based up. In the morning, when they woke up, based up 20 meters or so from them was the Turks. Okay, it was a group of 8 with the Turks. So now it's a problem. The only thing he could do was let me bring the fire force in on his good reference that he gave me last night for his camp. And when the fire force was 5 minutes out, he was going to climb the tree in the middle of their base camp, radio in one hand, red flag in the other hand, and guide them over the Turks. Okay, that was, what could I say? All I could say, yeah, okay, Thomas, go for it. I got hold of the HQ. I'll give you this one because this one is so unusual. I never heard of happening before. I got hold of my HQ. They came in. Chopper came up, said 5 minutes out. I got hold of Thomas. I said, they're 5 minutes out. He climbed the tree. I could see him. Climbed the tree. I had my red day glow panel out on me. Climbed the tree. Radio on his back. No weapon. Radio on his back. Red flag in this hand. Speaker in this hand. And he guided that fire force over those tourists, 20, 30 meters away from him. And it was so good that he got all of them, plus not one of those ants got injured.
Good Lord. Wow, that's brave, eh?
Tell me about brave. Tell me about dedication, determination. And he got away with it. Not one of them got hurt. When all the shit settled down, Fire Force commander guided him out, and off he went.
Incredible.
They stayed where they were around the tree with their red day glow panel. Thomas stayed in the tree with his red day glow panel, and that was it. I thought that was a very good one. That was one of the, to me, plus he got all 8 kills. So I figured that was unusual. It was brave. It was dedicated.
It raises my last question, really, is if contact was made, would you guys be put back into that immediate area, or would you have to move a little bit further away because somebody might recognize you the second time?
And a lot of times we went back to the same area, not the same village, maybe, but the same area. A lot of times after a contract, the tourist modus operandi was split and run. They weren't there to fight. If they got caught and trapped because of Fire Force, they would put up a bit of a show. And then after a contact, you got all these different guys that survived the contact looking for somebody to join up with, looking for their comrade. If you get in there in time and you've got a good story, the locals will tell you, hey, there's Joe Soap. He was in the contact there the other day. He's looking for you dudes. Okay, send him here. And it worked, providing you knew what you were doing. And like I said, that job, to me, was the most dangerous job in the army. There was nothing coming even close to that. You lived that day and night. Everything you heard was a half-truth, was a lie. It was a world of smoke and mirrors. And true, these ants did get paid extra From 1 to 5 kills, they got a 50 Rand bonus. From 6 and above, you got 100 Rand bonus. They got that as some sort of incentive. That's the pseudo team. That was their incentive for putting their life on the line 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, months at a time. There were so few of them. Was not enough.
How many dollars did you say? How many dollars did you say they got?
They got Rhodesian dollars, 50 from. If they called in the 5-4s and the 5-4s killed between 1 and 5, they got $50 each.
Right.
Rhodesian dollars.
It was good money.
If there was 6 and above, they got 100 Rhodesian dollars each.
That's
for
amazing.
them, not for per kill.
Yeah.
Per team member. That was their incentive. And I thought they deserved every penny, but if I had my way, I would have paid them more. But it was not up to me. And that money didn't come out of the Rhodesian.
The dollar in those days, it was worth $2 US, so it was a lot of money. Andy, we've been going a long time now, which has been wonderful. I just want to ask you, were you involved in any external operations?
I did the first one that we did, a user trial of detachment. I was on that. The first proper op we did with vehicles, that of Long John, I did that. Then the big one of Eland, I was on that.
Right. So what I'd like to do, with your permission, is have another day to interview you on your external operations. I think we're going to end this talk now because of the time that we've been speaking. It'll probably be divided into 2 talks because it's been a couple of hours. That'll be wonderful. We'll set up another date for that. I can't thank you enough for coming on board, and it's been extremely interesting. And your ability to describe a particular scene intimately is really good. And I've really enjoyed the talk. I've learned a heck of a lot, and I just want to say thank you to you.
Oh, it's a pleasure, Tony. I just hope the viewers and the listeners enjoy it as well. And if anybody's got any questions, just drop me a line. I'm on what you call it, Facebook and all the rest of it. And I answer a lot of questions from guys that buy the book and all that. So I quite enjoy it. So, and like I say, I hope they enjoy it. And thank you for asking me.
It's a pleasure. And what we'll do is John will show you all 3 books now, the covers and the links to it. And I assume they're available on Amazon.
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
They are. And
so
guys in South Africa, I've got a couple of Skuzapu ones still available here in South Africa. But the rest are on Amazon. Amazon's got them all.
Lovely. Well,
because I want to make a movie. Did I tell you, Tony?
No.
I'm going to make a movie.
Well, did you know that? Well, I'll tell you this quickly before you tell me your story. That Hannes Wessels is actually in the process with a multi-millionaire in America to make a movie on the Rhodesian War. So it's going to be a proper Hollywood production. So that will be, and what do you think? What was your plan?
Oh no, just say that to everybody, just to see what's going on.
Well, you might be picked up for picking your brains on a part. You never know. Anyway, thank you.
That's good.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure, Tony. Like I say, thank you for inviting me, and I hope the people enjoy it.
They will enjoy it. I can tell you they will. Thank you very much, Andy, and God bless, brother.
Pleasure, Tony. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.